verses 13 to 2nd. New creation. Walking. The life that lives itself many today major on the manner of life. Walking as a new creation in a nutshell. 8 facts. New creation realities https://www.youtube.com/watch?v=sign rs.c.t.c.a%t=3759s. 1. I am a new creature in Christ. 2 Corinthians 5 verse 17. 17 Therefore if any man be in Christ, he is a new creature. Old things are passed away. Behold, all things are become new. 2. I have redemption in Christ. Ephesians 1 verse 7, King James Version. 7 inches whom we have redemption through his blood, the forgiveness of sins, according to the riches of his grace. 3. I have been delivered. Colossians 1 verses 13 to 15. 13 Who hath delivered us from the power of darkness, and hath translated us into the kingdom of his dear Son. 14 inches whom we have redemption through his blood, even the forgiveness of sins. 15 Who is the image of the invisible God, the firstborn of every creature. Confession, I am a new creature, a new creation in Christ Jesus. I think of myself as a new creature, living in a new realm. I'm walking in this new realm by faith. I'm not just forgiven, but my old nature, my old self connected with Adam and the first creation has been remitted, blotted out, never to be remembered or called up again. It is out of existence. I live in a totally brand new creation, as if Adam never sinned, and as if sin never existed. I'm righteous, and in him I have redemption, deliverance, and Jesus is the firstborn head of every creature, the new creation. Adam's creation was a failure, and God created a new one in Christ. I am redeemed, delivered into this new creation, and by faith I am walking in new creation realities. 4. Walk in the Spirit, a new creation in Christ. Ezekiel 36 verse 27. And I will put my spirit within you, and cause you to walk in my statutes, and ye shall keep my judgments, and do them. Romans 8 verse 1. There is therefore now no condemnation to them which are in Christ Jesus, who walk not after the flesh, but after the Spirit. Romans 8 verse 4. That the righteousness of the law might be fulfilled in us, who walk not after the flesh, but after the Spirit. Galatians 5 verse 16. 16 This I say then, walk in the Spirit, and ye shall not fulfill the lust of the flesh. 17 For the flesh lusteth against the Spirit, and the Spirit against the flesh, and these are contrary the one to the other, so that ye cannot do the things that ye would. 18 But if ye be led of the Spirit, ye are not under the law. We are to walk in the Spirit, that is after our recreated spirit, and not after the flesh. We see from Galatians some of the works of the flesh as well as the fruit of the recreated spirit. The main fruit to concentrate on is to walk in God's agape love, as described in 1 Corinthians 13, which will be a topic of another study. Since we are Christ's, his cross has crucified our flesh, and we are identified with him and are free from the works of the flesh as we reckon ourselves dead to sin. Meditating on the fact that we are new creations will aid us in walking in the Spirit and renew our minds, and as we are doers of the word we will be blessed in our endeavors. We need to view ourselves, as James says, in the perfect law of liberty, freedom, and have our spirit eyes enlightened, as Ephesians states, to our calling and inheritance in Christ. Sinners have their spirit apprehension blinded, and the spirit of disobedience operates in their flesh. I believe a demonic network set up with overlords of demonic principalities and powers rule over the lost and the world's people, and rule to some extent in their minds and flesh, as Paul states, which pushes them into wrong actions and lifestyles. We are not to walk out of our heads anymore, but walk in our recreated spirits, and teaching good new creation information and feeding on it will aid you to walk in the Spirit as a new creation. 5. I am God's workmanship, created in Christ. Ephesians 2 verse 10. 10 For we are his workmanship, created in Christ Jesus unto good works, which God hath before ordained that we should walk in them. When were we created in Christ, legally? When Jesus was made alive and spoiled Satan and his principalities and powers, making Jesus the absolute master over Satan, death, and hell. That's when. We are God's workmanship, created in Christ when he rose from the dead, so we share in that absolute victory over Satan, sickness, death, and oppression that's in this world. 1 Timothy 3:16 And without controversy great is the mystery of godliness. God was manifest in the flesh, justified in the Spirit, seen of angels, preached unto the Gentiles, believed on in the world, received up into glory. 6. I am a righteous new creation. 2 Corinthians 5:21 For he hath made him to be sin for us, who knew no sin, that we might be made the righteousness of God in him. Romans 4:25 Who was delivered for our offenses, and was raised again for our justification. 1 Peter 3:18 For Christ also hath once suffered for sins, the just for the unjust, that he might bring us to God, being put to death in the flesh, but quickened by the Spirit. 7. We became God's workmanship in Christ, a new creature, specifically when Jesus was quickened by the Spirit. Remember Ephesians 2 verse 1 says, And you hath he quickened. So we were quickened with Christ when he was made alive in his Spirit after being made sin and dying and suffering in hell for us. Then quotes David from the Psalms, saying about Jesus, Thou art my son, this day have I begotten thee. This begotten begotten wasn't when Jesus was born, but when he was made alive, or endued with God's Zoe, life, like God the Father, PhD, to be justified and made alive in his spirit, and then that life and power in him spoiled Satan and all the demonic powers that tried to hold them there, and that life and power raised him from the dead. So to make a long story short, that where we were created in the mind and activities of God, and it's important that you see this, because that is where our victory over Satan, demons, death, and sin comes from where Jesus was made alive for us and rose from the dead. That's the source of victory. Colossians 2:15, and having spoiled principalities and powers, he made a show of them openly, triumphing over them in it. 8. The same power that raised Jesus is in me, new creation, Zoe life. Ephesians 1:19, and what is the exceeding greatness of his power to us who believe, according to the working of his mighty power. 20, which he wrought in Christ, when he raised him from the dead, and set him at his own right hand in the heavenly places. 21, far above all principality, and power, and might, and dominion, and every name that is named, not only in this world, but also in that which is to come.